Uh, hey everybody. Hope you're well. It's my birthday. Yes, I am unbelievably 58, which I'll deal with in another deal with. It's interesting in another vlog. But right now, I want to focus on the comments of one Derek Carr, and because Carr uh, just finished his press conference, he held it on my birthday, and uh, which I should be honored. But and I am. You know why everything is like I should be or dealt with. I got to work on that lingo. But I'm happy to be alive. You know, I just have to say it. I'm all that. But this is not about that. About me right here. This is about Derek Carr, um, and the comments he made that are of concern to me. And let me get to them by way of what he presenting what he just said in the press conference a moment ago today. And here is the part that got my attention. Okay, right here.
Hey, Derek. I just wanted to ask, yesterday Mark Davis released a letter saying that there'll be no fans in the stadium this season. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, playing in front of, an empty arena. And then two, was there any decision made? Were you even thinking about opting out this year? Several players have said that they thought about it. Others have said it didn't even cross their mind. Just your take on opting out this season?
Yeah, so two-part there, right? One was the fans. Mr. Davis, he came out yesterday, right? Yesterday and said there won't be any fans. And I think he said before a couple weeks ago it'd be all or none, right? So I don't know what the discussions were. I just stick to my job, right? I don't know what those discussions were, but I know that if he couldn't have everybody, he probably didn't feel right saying, well, you guys can come, but you guys can't, right? And I think he's just trying to be as fair and keep everyone as safe as possible. It's a tough decision. I mean, I don't think we can fault anybody if they opt out, if they don't opt out, if they say fans, if they don't say fans. I mean, everyone's trying to do their best, and we're obviously we're human. We're going to see mistakes along the way, but I think Mr. Davis is trying to do his very best to protect our fans, protect the workers at the stadium, protect the players. He's trying to do his best for everybody. So I commend him for that. Part two of that was, did I think about opting out? When this thing came up, I did not. I have a lot to prove to myself. I have a lot to prove to my organization. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm tired of being disrespected. So there was no question I was going to play this year.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop it right there because that's where I want to
take Derek, Cassie Soto with the Las Vegas Review Journal.
I want to take up what he said at that point, and because it was concern to me. First of all, Derek Carr is a great quarterback. No question about it. There's also no question about it that he's been in a situation that by design has made him insecure, and it shows. And that's not a good way, in my opinion, to start the 2020 NFL contest. However, it turns out with respect to the virus. Derek Carr came in from Fresno in 2014. And if you remember, he wasn't really anointed the starter. There was Matt McGloin, who was also a crowd favorite, who also had a more than reasonably good command of the offense. And rather than the Raiders saying, you know what, Carr is going to be our starter, they did this job of making you quite literally root for one person or the other. And I said back then, that shouldn't be how the quarterbacks are treated. You make a decision on the quarterback preseason, you hone and refine that quarterback to play in your system, and you fix along the way. That's what you do. And so we then saw Carr gain a really great contract from Mark Davis, only to be beset with some more insecurity regarding the Las Vegas move and if the Raiders are even going to retain him. And Carr has had to live with the constant fear of being yanked or pulled or traded, even though the Raiders' poor performance was largely due, I think you'll agree with this, to their consistently poorly designed, and I mean schematically designed, defense. The Raiders have had some fantastic defensive talent, but they've also been consistently put in the wrong place to make plays. So it's a fault of coaching. And it's also a fault of an owner that, in my opinion, meddles a bit too much rather than just sitting back and letting his president, who admittedly doesn't know football. Mark Bourdain personally said, hey, football is not me, I'm the business side, okay? So there was talk of bringing in, at one point, a president of football operations, which, should have been Amy Trask anyway, but I digress. But we don't have a situation where Mark Davis is out. If he grabs a sheet of paper and says, we need corners, telling off the corners, right? Cornerbacks, then you get corners, or you're going to be out of a job as coach or head coach or personnel director, regardless of whether or not he's right, okay? So in all of this maelstrom of illogical activity, Carr has had to ply his trade at quarterback. And the latest is bringing in Marcus Mariota. Now, earlier, he did talk about Mariota in the press conference. He made comments. He was asked about that early on.
And offseason, I'm scrambling, just creating plays, making guys do different things, getting the feel for it.
That part of what he said, I'll tell you what he said. He said, look, basically they've been competitors, and they always got along when they saw each other. But he didn't say the magic word, we're friends, right? In other words, they didn't have a communications relationship prior to Mariota joining the Las Vegas Raiders. And you put that together with his comment about the need to be respected, and I don't care what anyone says, this whole situation has unnerved him. Because it's not only, bring in Mariota, but then on social media, which he should not be paying attention to, but you can't help it, others say, bring in Kaepernick or bring in this. And you can't help but look at the entire situation and say, if they're bringing in Marcus Mariota, who was a starter and then lost his job to Ryan Tannehill, then what's to say that that same dynamic isn't in the head of the Raiders going forward if, for whatever reason, Carr doesn't work out in a mobile way? I said because Derek alluded to working more on running. And I know that head coach John Gruden, has always been enamored with the mobile quarterback, but I don't think John really quite understands how to coach the mobile quarterback, because if he did, he would have done it a long time ago. So he's getting better at it. And maybe this is the year that John understands how to design a system that includes mobility, not just I'm not talking about in the pocket mobility. I'm talking about out of the pocket mobility. Mobility is an option in the passing game. I think this is the year that John understands how to incorporate that, given what Derek has said. But I digress. The point I'm making is when Derek says, I have a lot to prove to myself in the organization, my thought is, you know what? It's great to say that, but you should really be making it about, in my opinion, getting the team ready to compete as opposed to it being about you. Because what happens is that if it's about him, okay, Laundry says, if it's about him, all right, then every mistake he makes is going to be magnified by the idea that he already believes that he's being disrespected. And it's not going to get better. It's going to cycle downward. And this is, but Landry says, we'll take Derek in Philly. We need a QB that can stay upright. And interestingly, the idea that Laundry Day says that tells you, hey, there are people who believe that Derek is tradable. And certainly the situation is ripe for him to be traded if Marcus happens to get a shot, if Derek gets injured. And look, Marcus is as hungry to prove himself in the league as anyone else. He's not going to just sit back there as a shrinking violet All right. And hey, it's good to see you, Leonard. Thank you very much. He's not going to sit back there as a shrinking violet. Okay. And no shooting. That wouldn't be in the best interest of the team. And it certainly wouldn't be in the best interest of Mariota because he would be more susceptible to injury had he done that. Right. So my thought is that Derek needs to focus less on what people are saying about him and more on playing. He just needs to put some blinders on, stay off social media, hire an assistant to handle the social media stuff for him, give that person a script of, comments to make, tell that person when not to make, back comments, which is often, and then get about the focus of the season, staying healthy, staying away from any situation where the virus might get to him or his family, and moving forward. But right now, Derek needs to have as few concerns as possible. But because it really sounds to me, and I say this again, like Derek Carr has absorbed a lot of the negative stuff said about him. And here, Godfather Media or Joseph Amadeus says PJ failed his physical and was traded to the Vikings. Yeah, I absolutely know that. And thank you all for the comments on that on Zenny 62 Media. That I figured that there were some other issues regarding his trade and why he failed his physical. I can only attribute to this crazy offseason that we've had and the fact that we haven't had the standard schedule of OTAs and team meetings. And then when the team meetings have been held, they've been virtual. And I don't care what anyone says, there's a difference between virtual learning and in-room learning. Some people adjust to virtual learning better than others. And if there's no physical component to go with the virtual learning, right? You're out there actually running plays and getting in shape and going through drills and everything else, you are not going to come in healthy. And there's a greater incentive for somebody to not come in healthy. And it reads like, and it sounds like that's what happened with PJ, and that's too bad. He's a great player, and I think he's going to be a fantastic pickup for the Vikings. And a loss for the Raiders. See what happens from this. So anyway, I just want to make a few comments about Derek Carr. I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about him. It's already about 12 minutes. Subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Thanks. Oh, by the way, he says, Derek was a good QB before Gruden got there. Gruden is bad for Carr. Won't launch you today. Let me take up that for a second. All right. That idea. And let's investigate that statistically. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll do that another time, but I have to go. We'll see you.